this is like one of my favorite times, is just to like hang out with you guys, be able to talk shop, answer questions. If you're an entrepreneur or a parent juggling a career, or you want to know more about your own individual journey, or maybe some nuggets from like the fitness side of things, like literally anything and everything is wide open. And I love the Q&A format because, you know, one of the things that I want to do today is to be able to serve everyone in the room and to do so at a high level, and to get you to the next level. That's really the goal, right? I'm here for you. And, you know, some of the things that I've learned over the last 10 years, being a young, dumb, 24-year-old kid. Sorry, you got your kids in the room, earmuffs. Well, you're 28 now, man. You're getting older. You're wise in the last 4 years. Learned a lot about myself, learned a lot about interacting with other people, a lot about communication, a lot about leadership. To grow the company to where we've gotten it to this point, it's been really hard. And so I'm so grateful to be in the position that we're in now. But nonetheless, like by far the hardest thing I've ever done was 2020 for sure. Yeah, that was really, really tough. And I know it was tough on a lot of you guys too, but you know, what doesn't kill us makes us stronger, and we're all here and we're stronger for it. And I'm just so happy that you guys are able to take some time out of your day to, you know, pour into yourselves. There's a personal development element to a Q&A session that I hope you guys are really able to get a ton of value out of this and to bring things away. So don't be hesitant to ask anything, all right? And I'm just gonna repeat the question that you asked so everybody can hear it. And we'll get started with the first person that really wants to raise their hand and jump. I know no one ever wants to be the first. So here, this always works. Leaders are curious. Leaders ask questions. So if you want to be a leader, your hand should probably go up first. There we go. I see. I always get at least one. Okay, you got it.
Have you thought about adding like nutritionists to the franchise?
Yeah, so the question is, and what's your name again? I know we met last time. I'm sorry. Amanda asked, are we thinking about adding a nutritionist to Burn Bootcamp? So it's a great question. Let me give you guys a little forecast into the future of what this will do to serve you in 2023 and beyond. So I'm going to step on stage at our summit that your team goes to the summit and then they come back and they're all fired up and they're like, what happened to you guys? Like, we went to summit. Oh, okay. So you probably fear that when they leave for summit now and come back for a few days. Well, next year at summit, I'm going to put up my phone and I'm going to show the brand new Burn Bootcamp app that we're building. And there's two cool things about this, and then I'll answer your question. So one cool thing is that your trainers here, instead of like, you know how we started doing the Zoom camps and everybody was doing that from home? Well, we've had over 5 million downloads on our YouTube channel, and that's just us. That's not even y'all's Zoom, so it's way more than that. And what that showed us is that Burn Bootcamp is a brand that people want to take with them when it's a part of their identity, and they want to take it with them where they go. And so what we've done is we've been building technology ever since 2021 that's going to allow, who's worked out with Mac Morris before at HQ or me, like back when I was doing it? Okay, so those of you that worked out there digitally know what I'm talking about. We're gonna roll out a membership, a digital membership. You're gonna have an opportunity to have it as well, but it's gonna extend the 4 walls in your area, and other people that maybe haven't ever tried Burn, that are a little nervous, that need just a little bit more comfort before they come in for the first time, like y'all crazies just showing up and getting after it. Is everybody that way? No. There's a lot. How many friends do you know that just say, it really seems fun and awesome, but like, I don't know, I should go to Orange Theory first to get warmed up. Right? So now instead of Orange Theory taking that business, we're gonna take the business. Well, surely Shannon and her company's gonna take the business. We call it the franchise partner first royalty model. And so every dollar that comes from those digital memberships will go to Shannon. So not only are we gonna push it down from HQ, but you all have like we call it space. You'll have a space in your app that will be Burn Bootcamp Pittsford, and your trainers are gonna be able to upload content from this gym. They'll put their camera on a tripod. The cool part about all of this is Burn Beats, the music that you just heard playing over, is MP3 tracks that we're the only company on the planet to have universal music licensing rights since we've partnered with Fit Radio. And so we're gonna be able to make digital content, and this might help you when you're on vacation or you need, a quick morning when you get the trifecta. One baby poops on you, the other one pees on you, and the other one throws up on you as you're trying to get out the door to the 9:30 camp. Who's had that happen before? Like something like that, right? And you just can't make it. Well, now you're going to have an option, and your trainers are going to be able to upload that content, and then the franchise partners are going to be able to monetize it. That's the first thing. The second thing is Burn Bootcamp meals. So we have our supplement line. We're right now baking meals, like whole food, direct-to-consumer meals that you guys can get on a meal plan with your trainers, and then that stuff was gonna like show up to your door to help you with your nutrition, okay? We will be hiring a nutritionist in-house at Burn Bootcamp HQ to make meal plans for free for all of you in 2023, and we're gonna roll it out underneath a newsletter, a nutrition newsletter, and in that newsletter, obviously you're gonna be able to buy supplements and buy these things, but the app's gonna be really tricky and sophisticated, because it's going to, no matter where you are in the world, Amanda, you're always going to be coded to this location. This is your home gym, right? So you'll always be here. So if you buy something in our space, in our app from Alaska, they're still going to get it here, right? And so you're going to now have meal plans that are made by a nutritionist. The next layer after, and then supplements, and then our meals. The next layer after that is to roll out a nutrition coaching service to where I train Pete how to deliver that meal plan for you. The nutritionist at HQ puts out the programming, similar to how Matt puts out the programming now for all of us. And then Pete, Caroline, the rest of our trainers, we all take it and we disseminate that information down, and then it will work the exact same way. So there's nutrition. There's another extension of the fitness service coming down the line, extension of the nutrition products, and for the first time, a nutrition service, which is going to really help those of us, especially right away, who struggle with their nutrition, who just need something turnkey. Great question, thank you. So what you'll start to see over the next few months here, I think it's gonna roll out in like January, February, I'm not exactly sure yet, but a really, really professionally done, well put together, well thought out cookbook, meal plan, snack time tip, like just like a, man, this is such a great value. I want you all to experience, yes, we're gonna roll out like things that you could buy. Obviously we can't give meals and stuff away for free, but the things that we can give away for free and build a HQ to add value to you, that's what we wanna do. Like we want to do more and more and more of that. And what we've seen is that when our promos do really well, they're always usually connected with like some type of like additional value add outside of the gym. So thank you for your comment. There was another question over here. I haven't thought about adding healthcare professionals in the traditional sense. I think that's largely outside of my scope as a private practice, but what we do is have joint ventures with, mostly like digital doctors, right? So that, because what we really want to do is, yes, get the information from them, but then also siphon off some of their attention and awareness that they have. You might think of, a doctor that might come to mind is like Mark, what's his name? Robert Wolf is another good one, right? To where we incorporate those people into our organization. But I have not considered yet a true meld with any business. If that does happen, it might happen at HQ under a different umbrella, if ever. Thank you for your question. Good stuff. What else?
Who are your mentors?
Kelly, right? Yeah. Kelly. Kelly said, who are my mentors? So when I grew up in Battle Creek, Michigan. We call it on the other side of the tracks. Grew up on welfare. The first 7 years of my life, I was drug around the country. My mother and my father were abused pretty much everything, substances that they could get their hands on, and they fist fought and like had a very, very toxic relationship. And so my mom, and I don't blame her for this because my dad's a 6'3" like big guy, like probably sick of him beating on her, and so she took us and she left to Mississippi, to Arizona, to California, to Washington, back to California, back to Arizona before I was like 11, and I finally moved back in to my house with my dad and my mom, and they reunited, and then the scale of toxicity went from like what I thought was bad to my teenage years were awful. Like it was terrible. We had over 50 domestic violence charges by the time I was 17 years old, from 12 to 17 years old, and the cops were at my house like every weekend. So I had nobody around me to look up to. What I actually did look up to them for were the things that they weren't doing. And I was smart enough, even at that young age, I think, to decipher and discern what was right from what was wrong. And I was getting up going to school by myself, brushing my own teeth, doing my own laundry, making my own food, and I was 12 years old. You know, I love my dad. My dad's a great guy, but if he did that, or he did this, or, you know, any of the other motions that we won't do because there's children in the room, he was a different person. And so my uncles were the same way, and all the male, you know, figures that I grew up around were not it. And so I remember I wrote about this in Stop Starting Over. I know a couple of you have this book, and I've signed it. Thank you for reading it. I appreciate that. I wrote about a story when I was, who remembers those 8-track CD changers that like nobody has anymore because like what is this CD, right? So that we had one of those in our living room, and you know how there used to be like these big heavy machinery, and there was like 6 of them stacked on top, and one was the tuner, and one was the radio, and one was, right? Well, I popped open the disc changer one day, and there was a Tony Robbins CD in there. So I think my parents were like at least aware and like trying to figure something out. And I remember I had seen him on the TV late at night because that's when he used to do infomercials. And I took the Personal Power CD of Tony Robbins and I put it in my Sony Walkman, and I was riding my bike to school at the time. And I remember I was like, maybe it was like 2 or 3 years from the time I was 12 to 16. It was before I had a car. I was listening to that tape that CD like every single day. And one quote that always stuck with me that I think really changed my life in the moment was the following: when you have no resources, successful people become resourceful. And I was like, wow. It eliminates all excuses. You don't have money, you don't have mentors, you don't have time, you don't have this, you don't have that. Well, guess what you do have? Resourcefulness. And to me, that was like an aha moment. And ever since then, I've always been a huge Tony Robbins fan. I've met him actually one time. I'm not sure if he would know me. I'm sure he's heard of Burn for sure, because we have a bunch of locations down around his house, but he's like a one-way friend to me. You know, it's like he's my mentor, but I'm not sure that he knows that I look up to him that much. And my rule on mentors is no more than 2. And we got to be careful who we take advice from, because there's times in all of our lives where we take advice from people that we shouldn't be taking advice from. And we take that to heart because we might admire them in the moment as you know, quote unquote, the Bible and the way we're supposed to live our life and by the principles that we're supposed to live our lives. And how many times does that turn out to be bad advice? And so it's like, here's one rule: eliminate every person that you call a mentor besides 2 people, the 2 people that A, you know they have pure intention, and B, they've helped tens of thousands of millions of people before. And if it happens to be a mom or a dad, I don't count mom and dad as mentors. Mentors need to be people that are willing, they're completely unbiased, that need to ask you questions and not give you answers and not give you statements. And so when anybody looks, there's a lot of people that look to me as a mentor, and I cherish that. And I always try to live by that rule that if I'm, even with my children, because I'm a mentor for my children, and you know, I like to think that my wife is a mentor for me and I'm a mentor for her, and we have that good conspiracy. We wrestle together to make life better. And you know, I'll never try to tell them. I'll always ask them, what was going on here? You know, or, you know, what would you do in this situation? What could have you done differently? Not, hey, don't color on the walls, right? Like, hey, is it appropriate to color on the walls? So mentorship to me is 2 people, emulate them, but don't forget you're a person. And all of the creative juices that you have and all the things that make you an individual, you could admire other people, but not so much so to where you're living their life. You admire them and you blend that together with your own life. And you know, I have a lot of Tony Robbins in the way that I communicate with other people and speak. I have a lot of Gary Vaynerchuk in the way that I market and conduct business and hustle. But I also have a lot of me and a lot of what I like to bring to the table, which I'm still trying to figure out how to language that. I learned that from you guys. I know I'm energetic and crazy and fun to be around and quick-witted and these types of things that I hear back. And so I always try to double and triple down on the things that people are actually gravitating toward with me. And that's the way that, you know, I kind of grow my personality and my influence is to marry those things together. And then you get any more than that, it's just 1, 2, 3 too many. 1, 2, 3 too many. That's a good saying to live, good philosophy to live by. Great question, Kelly. Thank you very much. So the question is, do you have a specific approach that you take to, say that one more time just so I'm...
Like setbacks
Okay, do you have a specific approach that you take to mitigate setbacks, to get rid of them? Is there any, can you give? Just to handle them when they happen.
To figure out, a way to kind of rise above, which clearly you've done.
Yeah, for sure. So the answer to the question, what is the process, to me is your personal core values. Because what core values are in a business is how you move and act. In your personal life, it's the same thing, how you move and act, how you behave, what you say yes to, what you say no to. They're your non-negotiable personality traits. And I always let those guide me in moments where things are really hard. So people first is my first core value, right? People first. That means the business and my own personal goals are trumped by Amanda's goals and what Amanda wants. And what Amanda wants, right? If she's on my team, let's say, and what Amanda wants isn't being achieved, well, Amanda's not progressing toward happiness. When Amanda's progressing toward happiness and she feels fulfilled in life, well, then I'm doing my job as a leader to build other leaders, and that technically is what people first means. People first does not mean everybody gets everything they want for free all the time. That's exactly what it doesn't mean, right? And so now I know how to handle people. So most of the setbacks in my life, because I have this big organization with, gosh, guys, there's 115,000 people coming in between employees and members, and there's a lot of personalities. So if I don't have a way to navigate those relationships, like a fundamental axiom, not just some way I feel that day, but like a fundamental axiom, meaning that it's written down on paper, it's reviewed often, and I could show these to you right now if you wanted. It's core, and people first is defined by making other people's mission and values and vision more important than your own. And that gives me a way to interact and navigate. So when I get a setback and it was a decision I made, I go to my core value, integrity. Man, what decision did I make? Integrity to me means I will always have the pure intent to make the right decision, but does not mean I will always make the right decision. But furthermore means if I do make the wrong decision, I have humility to roll that back, right? And to do what's right. Like one of my personal core values for my family is always do the right thing. The right thing is always the right thing. And when you come at a crossroads, if you don't have personal core values, raise your hand right now today and be honest. This is a vulnerable place. We're here to space to learn and to grow. Do you have personal core values that you could, 3 to 7 of them that you could write down and show me right now? Raise your hand if you do have that. Personal core values. Okay, don't make me call on you. I'll make you show me. But good. So about half of the room. So 50% is not good enough. We need to do better. All right, and that's great, because if you don't have personal core values, you actually do. But if you haven't taken the time to write them out, then they don't become permanent until, like if the Bible was just stories, then it wouldn't be the Bible. The reason it's the Bible because it's a book of stories. It's permanent. It lasts forever. And so you need core values. You need a personal way to navigate your life that is permanent. Means that it's written down, that it's on paper, and that it lasts forever. And don't you grow as a human? You grow as a human. Doesn't your family grow? Right? Your personal life, you'll be in a situation 2 years from now where your core values are going to mean something. Do they change? Not usually if you do it right, but what they mean to you contextual to the moment that you're in changes greatly. And so I would implore you all to take time to make some core values and just give it a shot. Like, what are you going to lose? What do you have to lose? Nothing. Like, nobody has to see it. Nobody has to see it. It's just you. But that's the hard part too. Nobody has to see it. It's just you, which is why most people don't do it, right? So the answer to how do I navigate setbacks is I've got a set of core values that I'm committed to, and I will not bend. I will not break. I will not fold. I will not recourse, and I will not allow you to dictate the way that I live my life. And if that means that we part ways, that means then we part ways, and then we are not meant to be together. And regardless of what you believe in, I'm a big believer that you have to have faith, because faith is an element to the uncertain. It's the only way to get it's the only way to get certainty when there's no certainty. And that's a big part of navigating the world too. So thank you for that question. Is that helpful? And we did that during the pandemic. That's for sure. We did it people first. You know what we did? 72 hours. I slept in the studio. We shut down 275 gyms. 3 days later, we have a live stream program that's up and out, and I'm not worried about charging. I'm not worried about setting up the model. I'm not worried about, so I'll shoot first, ask questions last. Our members, people first. Our members, our trainers even, they needed us to have a game plan right away that served them and their needs at the time, that weren't worried about the business economics, that weren't worried about what HQ's EBITDA was or any of those things. So that's the way that I like to navigate life. And now on the other side, you see what happens. That we leapfrog 9 spots. We're now in the top 10 in revenue and franchising. We're number 9. Number 1 is Planet Fitness. And when we get to that number 1 spot, and we will, we're going to serve this country, this world, in a magnitude of order greater than Planet Fitness serves this world. And I don't dislike Planet Fitness. I just think that when you have the top spot, when you're the president of the United States, when you're the biggest company in your industry, that you have a moral and ethical obligation to be people first. And that's the way that I'll navigate it. And if it doesn't work out, I'm not going to change. I will not negotiate people first to have that top spot. You will never see this organization be profit over people. We'll ride the line of culture and profit. Don't get me wrong, because we have 422 members here. Shannon's making some money here, guys. There's 422 members, right? It's a good business, okay? Team's got great careers. We're doing good. So you don't have to sacrifice your core values personally to gain professional results, and so many people do that. Great question. It's really good. This is good. What else? I don't mean to get too hardcore. We can keep it light too, you know? We can always keep it light.
I'll lighten it up. What is your favorite protocol and your favorite movement?
Ooh, that's a good one. So what is my favorite protocol and my favorite movement? I want to hear yours first. Just shout it out. Burst. Athletic conditioning. Arm day. Zay's trying to get swole. My favorite protocol is burst training because to me it's the most effective. Burst training is when your heart rate gets up to 90% of its maximum, back down to 60%, and we go back and forth really, really quick, and it's usually body weight, light equipment, super high movements, full calisthenic. And what happens out, you guys have heard this before, it's really called the EPOC, but people know it as the afterburn effect, where we're 72 hours after a burst training workout, your elevated, your resting metabolic rate, your RMR, means the calories that you're burning at rest is elevated after a workout like that. Okay, and it's elevated for longer than even a strength training workout, which is crazy to me. Just because of the post-oxygen consumption that you get after the exercise. So I'm okay, give me. And that settling of that breath is what's really allowing that heart rate to go from 90 to 10, from 60 to 90, and the difference, the delta in that heart rate is really what causes that effect. So it's my favorite. My favorite movement within that has to be double unders, jump roping. Sprinting and jump roping are my 2 favorite movements. I'm a very logical person, so my favorite is always the most effective. So it's burst training is the most effective protocol when it comes to fat loss. Leg strength day is the best protocol when it comes to muscle build. And then what was I saying? The double unders and the sprints are the best single exercise for fat burn because they're power movements. It's not just like a cardio movement. When you say jump ropes cardio, it's not cardio. Does it have cardiovascular elements? Yeah, but so does bicep curls. All cardiovascular means is what? My heart rate, my heart. Cardiovascular system is the heart and lungs and all the arteries and all the system that goes along with it. So I want to make sure that the things that I say are the best or the most effective. That's me. Thank you. That's a good one. What's yours?
Athletic conditioning.
Athletic conditioning? Something like today?
Yeah.
That crazy workout today that we had?
And my favorite move? I don't know. Anything except volleyball, probably.
Anything where the trainer goes away? Yeah. Anything where they just leave me alone? No. I'm pretty sure you're kind of sick and twisted like me. You like one in this year, and you also like one in this year at the same time. Cool. What else, guys?
What are your daily habits that keep you successful
That's a great question. So what are the daily habits to keep you successful and on track? I would language that as a routine. To me, one common denominator, as I read or watch something for an hour or two every day, and I deep dive on like a single book every month and just go really, really deep on it. And one thing that I've noticed as I've studied successful people, Tony Robbins and many others, is that the routine is everything. Like, there's a reason Steve Jobs, RIP, wore a turtleneck sweater, black turtleneck sweater in denim jeans every day. Because he had so many decisions to make. That part of his routine was, I just need to wear the same thing every day. I can't make all these decisions. I need to leave the house at the same time every day. So I have a routine when I'm at home. I have a routine when I'm on the road. It both starts with you get up at 4 a.m. and you don't negotiate that. Why is that for me? Because that's my way of feeling disciplined. Is that everyone's way of feeling disciplined? Certainly not. Certainly not. Right? Some people work 3 straight days if you're a firefighter, or you work 12-hour shifts, right? Right? Or 4 straight days, or do they ever give you time off? How many fires can there be? Or you really thrive in the evening time, right? Your routine isn't anybody else's routine. It's just a routine. And the routine needs to just maximize your time to the point in which you feel fulfilled and proud of yourself for completing the routine. That's kind of like the way I think about it. So mine is I get up at 4 a.m. That's every day of the week. I just don't negotiate with it, because when I do, what happens is everything in my routine starts tumbling down after that. Then I'll go to the gym at 4:45. I was at camp at 5 this morning, so it does adjust on the road. Do my camp. Right after that, I go home. I make my kids breakfast. I spend breakfast around the table. Morgan usually takes the kids. I'm always available if she wants me to take. She really loves doing that. That's her routine. I don't care so much. I don't. Like, it's fine. I'll see him after school. I see him before school. Like, the 10-minute drive, if that's what she likes to do, I'll never take that from her. That's her routine, unless the kids beg me, which they like mom's music in the car better anyways. And then I'll go to the office. The first 4 hours of the office is meetings with my people, because people first. I got to make sure that I'm helping everyone in the office solve the problems and move forward with their day. And then I have a little lunch break, and then I have a leadership hour right after that, where I have no meetings ever, and my job is to walk around our office and ask the following question: what are you working on, and how do you think that's impacting the business? And people love to tell you what they're working on and how it's impacting the business, because everyone wants to be really good at their job. No one wants to suck at their job, right? So they get excited when the CEO, or I'm now the visionary, which is the highest position in the organization. I come, right? Just so you know. Just so we know, it's not the CEO, it's the visionary. And although it's not the most important, Morgan's is by far the most important. She's got the hardest job. She's got 9 VPs, direct reports, meetings on meetings on meetings. She's supposed to execute what I'm just dreaming up, like in my 3-hour drive over here last night from Clifton Park. But then I go my leadership hour, and then I go home at like 5 to 5:30, and I give myself a little wiggle room, because I don't like to be imprisoned at that time in case I need to make a sporting event or whatever. So 2 to 6 for me is pretty flexible, because I love my family more than I love my business, and I am committed to having a daily relationship with my children. I'm committed to that. And then I put them to bed. We have our routine. I go to bed. Wake up, and I do it the next day, and I do it all over again. And that makes me really happy. So if you shake it out, it's probably like 12 to 14 hours of work, and then like 2 to 3 hours of family time, all in all. I don't watch TV. I might watch some comedy if I'm like feeling really stressed, just to like let it out. But I try not to consume things and watch things. I don't eat things and try not to hear things and try to see things. That's the modern form of consumption that aren't good for me, that clearly aren't the best thing that I could be consuming. And that has taught me a lot about how to be disciplined and how to put good content in front of me. So that's basically the routine. And it changes like this as the seasons change. So the last time I updated it was on October 15th. I showed Isaiah, we did a little podcast on it. I showed the camera, I showed all the updates that I made. And this started when I was 24. And it just started with like a very, very, very halfway version of this. Right? So if you don't quite get your routine, or if you've been in this kind of limbo of what should my routine be, make sure that it makes you happy. That's the most important thing. You don't want to be imprisoned to a routine, then it's not a routine, it's imprisonment. And so if you're somebody that's like, I don't like things on my schedule, I fly by the seat of my pants, don't let somebody come around and start training you on how to make Excel spreadsheets so that you can methodically hit every little thing every single day. You're not gonna be happy that way. So your routine is to each his own. Who has a routine? Like a solid routine that they're pretty happy. Yep. Just let it be fluid. That's my best advice to you, is just let your routine be fluid and let it be updated with what you need now as an individual, you first, and then your family. Don't we get that backwards a lot? You might even think that I'm full of it right now. That I want you to take care of yourself as number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, and then you can take care of your family.
It's like the oxygen mask.
Exactly. The oxygen mask. What do they say in the airport or the airplane? Put yours on before what? Before helping other people. Do you know why a bee lands on a flower? Pollen. Who said pollen? Bee lands on a flower to eat food, nectar, honey. Selfishly, it lands on the flower. Most people think it lands on the flower for pollen. That's a logical thing to think because it's very, 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 very important. In fact, existentially important that the bee that lands on the flower has pollen attached to its hair follicles when it flies away, or else we don't have trees. And if we don't have trees, we don't have oxygen. We don't have oxygen. We don't have life. So that's such a powerful metaphor. The bee lands on the flower to feed itself. And as a byproduct of feeding itself, it creates life. Powerful, huh? But isn't that something that so many people get wrong? And that's probably the fundamental reason that Burn is successful. I've been preaching this, Morgan's been preaching the same exact thing since day one. Like the first picture and image we ever made when it was like 2012 was all about selfless selfishness. And I changed it a little bit because that's a whole lot of words to say. Selflessness, selfishness, and we're like, what does that even mean? But it was saying it is actually the least selfish thing you can do by being selfish. When you define the word selfish as I do for me so that I can then do unto others. And I think that's such an important element to success and happiness and fulfillment in life, from my perspective at least. Ooh, that's a good one. The bee and the flower one. I'm going to remember that one.
What advice do you give to aspiring trainers?
What advice would I give to aspiring trainers? Number one, intensity is everything. If you do nothing else technical, just bring your enthusiasm for the person that you're working with and build that relationship with them from the inside out. Like, have an intensity about their soul and about their desires and about what they want. Kind of woven into people first a little bit. But your intensity is with them and through them, right? You're getting more out of them, you're demanding more of them than they could ever demand out of themselves. And that's the player-coach relationship. That's number one. Number two is emulate. Emulate two other trainers, back to your question, Kelly. Emulate two other people that can be your mentors, that are willing to ask you questions that put you in a position to think about the answer. Mentors do not give you advice. We already talked about that. So if you don't have mentors, if they're giving you advice, you have mentors when they ask you questions. Find two people that ask you really good questions. My third piece of advice would be learn technique. Learn something new every day, but learn technique so that people can stay injury-free as best as possible. We're all athletes. We're all athletes. Who's been injured a little bit here? Come on, have you ever known an athlete ever that plays multiple seasons that doesn't get a little injury here and there? I'm not gonna lower the intensity of our camps because, 6 of you go to a PT every 36 months. I'm not, right? So intensity, but then also do your very, very best that when we're in that form or when we're in that exercise to make sure that you know at least enough to be dangerous about the technical form, which is why we require a CCPT, an NCCPT. It's the national body that accredits all of the certifications that we require to be a part of the organization. The NASM, the National Academy of Sports Medicine, is by far my favorite one, and by far the the academic philosophy that most closely aligns to the Burn Bootcamp philosophy. So those 3 things. What's your goal? What's your vision?
Well, I already passed my NASM.
Okay. Hey, give it up. That's a hard test, y'all. That's a hard test. It's like learning Spanish at first, the NASM, isn't it?
I wish I paid attention. Right?
You would think the shin bone's connected to the head bone or the leg bone. That ain't true.
I haven't even really been shadowing Pete that much because we work more together than I can get off of the desk to go shadow.
Right.
So I'm trying to make that happen. So yeah, my plan is.
Hear that, Pete? What'd you just hear right there? What did you hear?
She wants it.
Yeah? Who'd she want it from? So while you make it unavailable, you better get her out on that floor. She wants that. It's a cry for help right there. I want to love Pete, but I don't got no time. Get her out on that floor, right? That's mentor, right? Hey, how can we get you out on the floor? That's a good question to get started with.
How can we get you out on the floor?
Let's go.
Cover all my desk jobs.
But the mentee then also has to say, I'm willing to go above and beyond any expectation to go chase after my desires. So what that means is I'm willing to not get paid to step on the floor and do that. Is that something that I would suggest as a business owner? Probably not. But I know I've had people like Daniel Ballard, who is the head trainer at Mooresville and a franchise partner in Carrollwood. Daniel Ballard showed up to my interview as an intern he's interviewing for a training position, like a personal training job in a group setting. And your boy shows up in a 4-piece suit, dressed head to toe, all like professional with a resume. And I said, hey, listen, I can't afford an intern right now. This was back in 2012. Daniel shows up at the gym the next morning at 5 a.m. and did so every day for about 2 months before I was like, listen, I can pay you now. So can I please pay you and stop coming here for free? Because I'm feeling guilty. I'm feeling guilty that I'm using your labor. But his willingness to go out and go get it is why now he is he not only has a career in Burn, but he also is a franchise owner inside of Burn. And, you know, if money, and I'm not saying anything about you, please don't take this that way. This is a general principle, and you can see this at Burn too. We create relationships before money ever changes hands. Before there's ever a transaction, you're a member first, Amanda, right? Who felt that way? That they felt like a member before they ever had to give up that credit card? Anybody not feel that way? Okay, most people said, hey, I kind of feel that way. I was a member before, right? So be a trainer before anything has to change hands. It's up to you. You got your NASM, okay? And then just gnaw at that until you get it. Hey, I want it. Say it, and then act it. And when you say it and act it, you're congruent. And then, and if Pete, wink, wink, this is supposed to be funny. If Pete's still not taking you seriously, I'll come down, all right? I'm just kidding. Now, Pete's an amazing leader, and I know how many people in this room, like, look away, Pete, look away. How many people look up to Pete in this room? Raise your hand.
I mean, I'll take them.
Okay.
Depending on the day.
Yeah. You know?
I saw who didn't put their hand up.
I try not to throw him under the bus, but, you know, Vicky, over here, you know.
I got it.
You did.
It's incredible, the relationship that you guys have, and next time I come, I expect you to be on that floor and ripping it up, all right?
Oh, you're holding it high now.
Let's go.
Get it. One more. Where and how do you find your peace?
Where and how do I find my peace? Man, that's a really good question. I find peace everywhere. Because life is so hard, it's so tragic. It's like, if you don't walk through life looking for peace, seeking you shall find, then all you're going to get thrown at you is chaos. So I got to find peace in sitting here with you guys. I got to find peace in my children and being with them and not being at work. I've got to find peace in having a really, really hard conversation with somebody. I find peace in the fact that my intention is always pure. And if I had to give you a place where I'm most present, I find peace on this floor in a camp. That's why I wake up and do it every day. And how do I find it? I don't know. I don't know. Look for it. Seek and you shall find. It will manifest itself. It will. I think so. I think that's the right answer. I think it's everywhere. You just got to be looking for it. Anybody else have a comment on that? That's a tough one. Where do you guys find your peace at?
Right here.
Loaded question, huh? Yeah. And I think it's because within the four walls, you have other people who are just like you, who have the same questions. Where do I find my peace? You know? And tranquility is inside of you. It's not anything external. I always say there's three things that you can control: your attitude, your effort, and your belief. To me, those three things collectively make up your inner world. Your attitude, your effort, and your belief. And when you believe that what you're doing is for the greater good, you show up with a positive attitude to inspire and motivate and influence other people, and you work really, really hard at it, well, you're controlling your inner environment. And I found peace during the pandemic when 275 gyms closed, because I went into we call it the lab. It's my gym at the house. It looks just like this, but like a home version. And I went into my workout, and all I did was just ask for that. I said, just show me something. And I kid you not, there was a moment, and this was right after, you ever get one of those angry workouts where you're actually really mad at something, and the only thing that you want to do is take it out on that single exercise? Imagine 275 gyms closed, and this is your baby in your dream, and the only thought is, if this doesn't work, I have nothing. I was so angry, and I was putting that at it. It was some double push-up mountain climbers on sliders. And I'm doing 56 reps or something like that, crazy in a row. And I remember in that moment, I had this chills that came over my body. And it's just this little voice, and I couldn't hear it. It was just in my head, and it just said, the pandemic is the promise. And I said, what? You got to tell me more here, because that doesn't make any sense to me. And it said, the pandemic is the promise. I kept thinking about what that meant. And it was really, what it meant was that the promise that I was making to every person that I touched along the way, the pandemic was my only opportunity that I've had as an entrepreneur and as a leader of people to fulfill the promise that I've been making. People first, integrity, authenticity, pride, and results, my core values. It was an opportunity to show those things and to act upon those things. And when times are tough, people either come together or they split apart. And there's no in between, right? And I knew that in the moment, what that little voice in my head was telling me was that although this is gonna suck, and there's going to be millions of innocent lives lost, and it's tragedy. And that's gonna happen whether you are miserable or whether you use it for good. And I decided in that moment that the pandemic was the promise meant to me, that the promise I've been making to myself, to my children, to you guys, to my franchise partners. These guys invest $350,000 per door to get these things open, right? And sometimes liquidate their 401k to do so. There's a lot on the line. I have a fiduciary responsibility to Shannon, to anybody that comes into this organization as a franchise partner, to say, hey, hop on my back. I'm taking you there. We're going to the promised land. And I don't care how we get there. The pandemic is the promise. The pandemic is the promised land. And if you can make your worst day your best day, you're a powerful individual. And that, to me, was what that did. And so that is an example of how you find peace when you seek peace, and you can find it even in hell. Yeah, in pain. So I hope that helps. That's good. That's good. And look at us now. Let's go. We're number 9, baby. We're going for number 1 too. So I appreciate you for that question. All right, we got a couple more. Anybody else? Shannon.
No, say 1 or 2 more.
Yep.
Webster has 3 o'clock.
Yep. 1 or 2 more. Deb.
What would you be doing if you weren't doing that?
If I was not doing this right here today, I would 100% be a sports agent. That's what I would do with my time. I love sports. So there's not even a lot of franchise partners that know this yet. Do I have your permission to say something cool? All right. See how that works? Yeah. So my wife Morgan and I, and then a team of people at HQ, we call them our VPs. We own the company. There's no outside investors. There's no anything else. We own about 98.5% and they own the other 2.5%, my leadership team. This is a really good position to be in. Really good position. Our company's worth about $200 million today. This is a really good position to be in. And for us to get to the next, because it's not about money for me. The only reason I tell you that is just to give you context. Like, I don't care about money. I had more money than I needed when I was 25, running one single gym out of Lake Norman, North Carolina. This became a game of impact. It's all about the impact. So now at the point when I have retained all the equity, it's a very smart play because now I get to go out and I get to partner maybe with like Josh Allen and his family and Venus and Serena Williams and Steph Curry and maybe 5 athletes to 7 athletes. That might be written down somewhere in a contract. And we're gonna go out and we're gonna sell a little chunk, a little piece of equity to each one of those athletes to represent the brand as a whole, which will take our valuation from a $200 million valuation to like overnight to the moon. And this will be happening over like the next 1 to 2 years. What was your original question? I'm sorry. A sports agent. Oh yeah. So I love sports, and I always knew that I was gonna marry Burn. Originally it was Burn in baseball. I wanted to marry Burn. I wanted to marry baseball. If you guys didn't know, I was a professional baseball player. I played with the San Francisco Giants in their organization, in the minor league system, not with the big league team. And yeah, so I have a deep love for sports, a deeper love for baseball, and this is a very exciting time because now we get to all blend like the things that we love the most. High-level athletes who are the GOATs of their craft, the greatest of all time, just like I believe we're the greatest of all time in our craft. And so to be able to align like that nationally is going to make our franchise partners really happy because they keep asking me, DK, where's the brand awareness nationally? And I'm like, I'm trying so hard. I'm trying. Let's just hire Steph Curry. That'll help.
Can you just promise us that Tom Brady is not one of these? Get that in writing.
I don't know if Tom Brady, I don't know if Tom Brady with his T12 stuff even wants any part of Burn. So you're safe from Tom Brady, okay?
So to piggyback off that, so you did a camp at Gillette.
Yeah.
Do one. I'm still going to call it the Ralph because I'll always call it Ralph. Can we please do one when we get that?
I would love to do that. So here's how that happens, right? So Shannon can organize it, okay? And we could get all hands on deck for you guys to help. And HQ will pay for the event in the venue. And then we'll come in and we'll bring our teams and we'll bring the flame and all that. I'll come train. But it's really a two-way relationship. And how this has happened was from the field to us. So they had done Gillette 2 years in a row. And well, we also went to the Chick-fil-A College Football Hall of Fame in Atlanta. I'm not sure if you guys saw that event. There was like 700 members there from Atlanta. And then we went to St. Louis with Chelsea. Were you there?
I'm from Atlanta.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's where I met Isaiah, by the way, at the Atlanta event. And then we went to St. Louis and did it out of a venue. And then we went to Gillette Stadium. My goal is to get to a major city or an arena every month next year, so 12 times. So pick your month. You guys work together. We'll make it happen. We'll charge for tickets. We'll donate it to charity, or you can keep the profits and disseminate it across your people. But we can pick your best charity of choice, whatever you want to do. We'll charge tickets. We'll make it fun, $25 a head. We'll make it family oriented. We'll come out and what is it called? The Ralph?
It was.
Is that like is that the hockey stadium? The hockey? Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Okay. Sorry. I don't know. I'm like, aren't they in Buffalo?
Let's do both.
Yeah. No, we can definitely do both. Where's Pete? Maybe Pete. What's the soccer team?
Ralph in December. Yeah.
All right, y'all. Well, hey, listen, that's the time. Thank you so much for all your really, really interesting questions. By like a show of hands or like noise, did you guys take a few nuggets away from this? Okay. All right. Hey, 2 claps on 2. 1, 2.